July 29th, 1999.
First, there were 9 dead in an Atlanta office building.
The witnesses knew who Mr. Barton was, identified him as the person that had shot them or had done the shooting. So we have a positive ID on Mr. Barton as the shooter.
Then, miles away, 3 relatives of Mark Barton were found dead. They had been shot earlier in their home.
The 3 more victims in Stockbridge do include children.
Then it emerged that years ago, Barton's former wife and mother-in-law were murdered, although Barton himself was never charged.
A few moments ago at Lake Ackworth and Cowan Road in Cobb County at a BP station, Mr. Barton was pulled over and committed suicide.
Tonight, the strange case of Mark Barton.
From ABC News, this is Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
We are about to tell you a story involving at least a dozen murders, maybe more, and ultimately a suicide. But it is not, as we all initially believed, a story that just happened today. It seems to have terrible roots going back 5 years or more. Today's killing rampage was preceded by another, far more personal one. And there may have been a couple of other murders long before those. Tonight, we're going to attempt to put it into some kind of perspective, but this business of trying to find order in chaos can itself be a terribly confusing process. As this story first broke this afternoon, the focus on Mark Barton had to do with the fact that he was believed to be a customer of the Alltech Investment Group at their offices in the Buckhead section of Atlanta. It is a day trading company through which investors can and do make the sort of instantaneous stock transactions that can earn or lose huge amounts of money almost instantaneously. The initial assumptions were that Barton had lost a lot of money. The first reports were all about the disgruntled day trader who must have lost a bundle and then went berserk. No, said the chief executive of Alltech from his company headquarters in New Jersey, he knew about Barton, but Barton hadn't traded with his company since sometime in April. So there was no apparent reason whatsoever for him to start shooting people at Alltech. 5 dead at that office and no apparent reason. And then other strange aspects of the story emerged. Barton had first gone to the offices of Momentum Securities, and there he'd killed 4 people. Barton was identified long before he was found, so police went to his home, about 30 miles away. He had split up with his wife less than a month ago. She had taken an apartment with their 2 children, and independently of all that was happening, someone worried about them, went to check on them, and found them all dead. And then yet another story emerged, reaching back 5 or 6 years to a previous marriage and the murder of a previous wife and that woman's mother, Barton's mother-in-law. He had been a suspect in those killings but never prosecuted. Bizarre? Just wait. Nightline has learned that Mark Barton did lose a pile of money day trading only yesterday. $70,000 at Momentum Securities. And shortly before his first wife and mother-in-law were bludgeoned to death 6 years ago, Barton had taken out a huge insurance policy on his wife's life. We'll get into all of that shortly, but first, ABC correspondent Aaron Hayes brings us up to date on the story that seemed to begin in a bloody flurry just this afternoon.
A window has been broken on the 2nd floor.
There was some shooting going on inside the building.
It was chaos. So many in these buildings had been unaware of the danger until they saw police running through their halls.
And they were with their backs against the wall, the guns drawn like you'd see, in a movie. And basically, they said, close the door, close the door, close the door. And on the ground, on the carpet, there was a little trail of blood.
Some office workers broke out windows, called to police who crawled inside. Police begged many to stay inside with doors locked. Some of those workers, anxious to let family know they were safe, spoke to reporters by phone.
There are 3 other women in the office with me now. I'm just scared, and I just would like to get out of here.
Police found bodies, 9 of them, in 2 separate brokerage firms in 2 different office buildings. SWAT teams surrounded the whole office complex here, stunned and puzzled. No idea yet who the shooter was or where. As they could, they scrambled office workers to safety, many in shock.
I saw in the management office a pool of blood, and when I saw that, I ran in my office, told everybody it had obviously been a shooting.
They said, "Get down, he's got a gun." There he is up on the roof. And he had a girl up there with him, and he was holding her up over the edge of the building.
Nell Jones was standing eye to eye with him.
When he exited the heart of the office. So I was the first person to look into his eyes.
And what did you see?
Someone who was very calm and determined. No feelings, no feelings.
And he pointed the gun at you and fired?
Directly, yes.
Somehow, the bullet did not hit her. As police were struggling to clear each office building, word came through on the identity of the suspect, Mark Barton.
He was 44 years old. He lived in Morrill. He was a chemist.
And authorities believe he may well have known some of those shot.
Over the last few months, he had been actively engaged in day trading. According to those who seem to have information, he had substantial swings, losses, and gains. He seemed to indicate some concern about financial losses.
But he apparently gave no clue to his victims, said little when he walked into their offices, smiled, said hello, and began shooting. Through the evening hours here, it was tense with fear, not knowing where he was headed, what he might do. And then, at this Atlanta gas station, 5 hours after the shooting had begun, police cornered Mark Barton. He did not shoot at them or run.
There is no information that he attempted to flee. He was pulled over and then apparently killed himself at that time.
That quickly it was over, and now the questions. Why? What could have brought a man to this point? What was the life that led him here? Aaron Hayes, ABC News, Atlanta.
And joining us now live from Atlanta, Steve Osunsami, ABC correspondent who is covering the murders at Barton's home. And Steve, my assumption earlier on was that it was the police who, once they learned of his identity, went to the home and found the wife and children, but you've learned otherwise.
Actually, it was a maintenance worker who called in the apartment to check on Mrs. Barton's welfare. Neighbors say she was active in Girl Scouts and failed to show up for an activity Wednesday night, so they knew something was wrong. With that discovery, the maintenance worker not only solved that disappearance, but in the end may have helped to explain why this rampage began.
Of Barton's estranged wife, police are finding evidence his rage began days ago. Leanne Barton was found dead in a closet. Investigators believe she was killed Tuesday. His 2 children from his previous marriage, 12-year-old Matthew and 7-year-old Shelley, lying dead in their own beds. Police believe they were killed yesterday.
Why to a person, when they get ready to go out of this world, why do they have to take so many people with them? Just unbelievable that our world has come to this.
It's just mind-shattering, you know? I mean, you just can't understand, you can't imagine.
Investigators say he covered each of the victims with blankets and left notes all over the home.
There are also notes placed on the little girl and on the little boy. And there's also a note placed atop of where we think that his wife is.
Police found another note in the living room, this one written on a computer. Investigators say it tells the whole story in uncomfortable detail. Barton was renting a home nearby. Police are there now searching for more clues.
And joining us now from Atlanta, Joe Skipper. Joe, help me out by quickly telling us where you work and how you came to be involved in this story.
I work at Momentum Securities. I've been trading there for about 4 months. I was there in the office today when Mark Barton came in and started his shooting rampage.
Now, do you have any sense of what it was that might have so upset him today?
I don't really want to speculate on that. I'm assuming that he lost a large amount of money.
Well, you're doing more than assuming. You know that he lost a large amount of money.
Well, I don't really want to speculate on that.
I'm not asking you to speculate. I'm asking you to tell me what you know.
I know what I saw. I saw him go on a shooting rampage today. I scrambled into a side office with a colleague. I flipped a desk over, pinning it against the door, holding the door shut with the desk. Mark Barton came and tried to force his way into the room with no success. He shot through the door twice, missing my head by 3-4 inches.
Now, Joe, as you know, the folks over at Alltech said he stopped trading there sometime back in April.
Yeah, that's right.
But he had been trading much more recently at Momentum, right?
That's correct.
Up until yesterday?
Up until yesterday.
And it is not unlikely that he lost a great deal of money.
That's correct.
Do you have any sense of what might have happened at Alltech and why he left Alltech? And I'll tell you exactly why I'm asking. We have learned from one source over there that he might not have been able to meet his margin call. In other words, that he had debts over there and that he was no longer able to trade there. Have you ever heard anything like that?
I haven't heard anything like that.
So of him, you know only that he was fairly big playered? I mean, did he invest large sums of money?
I didn't know anything like. I didn't know how much money he had, how much he invested, or how much he put on the line. I only knew that he rented out a terminal just like I did at Momentum Securities.
But when he left yesterday, did he seem particularly upset?
I didn't see Mark Barton yesterday leave.
And when he came in today, did he give any indication before he started shooting?
No, he did not. As a matter of fact, I passed by him maybe 2 minutes before he started shooting. He said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "Fine." He walked by. I went and used the telephone. I came back and sat down. That's when I heard the gunshots going off.
All right. Well, I thank you very much, and we will go on with the story in just a moment.
The quick, remarkably agile Lexus GS. Use it as you see fit.
Seafoam dress, $200. Seafoam shoes, $90. A friend worth wearing seafoam for? Priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard.
Need brakes? Get the best in the business to install them. And a lifetime guarantee honored at every Midas nationwide. Go safely. Go Midas.
Friday, a secret kept for 18 years. The daughter the world never knew Dr. J had talks with Barbara Walters on 20/20 Friday.
Everything looks better in the Smoky Mountains.
Find out more about Pigeon Forge in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. Call 1-800-333-4FUN.
This weekend at Just for Feet, the world's largest athletic shoe store.
It's a 30% off store-wide sale on kids' shoes.
This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Save 30% on all kids' shoes.
Nothing's held back.
Everything's on sale.
Every single kid's shoe.
30% off.
Every name brand.
30% off.
Every style.
30% off.
Every color, every size, every sport.
Something for every kid.
Just in time for back to school.
30% off all kids' shoes.
This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Just for Feet.
Where 13th pair is free.
Joining us now, John Cabrera, an employee of the State Tollway Authority, across the courtyard from one of the offices where Barton killed people this afternoon. I guess the simplest thing is just to ask you what you saw and when.
Well, what I saw is actually what I heard first, which were the gunshots, and there were so many in rapid succession. It sounded like an aluminum ladder being thrown down a stairwell. Just bang, 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 bang.
Did you know what it was right away?
What I thought was that it was a window washer that might have fallen from the building. And I looked outside, and I saw someone out on the walkway smoking, and just this look of terror on his face, and then all of a sudden he took off and went back into the building. So I ran outside, and met another guy running towards me yelling, "Call the police, call the police." So I led him back into our offices and I called 911. And when the 911 operator answered the phone, it became evident that a lot of people were calling in for the same thing. So I just told her that I had heard gunshots, and I hung up and I walked back across the walkway towards the offices, and I could see a couple of security men.
You're talking about Alltech's offices now, or your own?
These are at Alltech.
Right.
I could see some security people moving towards the offices, and I walked into the rear entrance, the emergency exit, and immediately to my left on the floor there were two men lying in pools of blood. The one closest to me was, he was awake and aware of his surroundings. He was trying to feel around for his gunshot wounds, and I told him not to try and move, and I looked up, and it was apparent immediately that everyone was in shock, because, you know, they weren't really trying to take care of the wounded yet. They were still...
You mean a lot of people just standing around doing nothing?
Well, not doing...
Or in shock?
In shock.
Yeah.
It only took a few more seconds for everything to kick in for everybody, but I went to the other gentleman, which was farther away from me on the left, and he was apparently deceased already. We tried to revive him, but that was not successful.
How long before any of the authorities showed up?
I believe it was probably another 5 or 6 minutes before the first paramedics showed up. But, I mean, looking at the condition of some of those people, if they'd been there 2 minutes after the gunshots, I don't think there's more that they could have done.
And then, very quickly, you were forced to stay in the building. I mean, at that time, they thought that Barton might still be in the building, right?
Yes, although no one was really too concerned about that at the moment. There was some security all over the grounds looking for him. As more and more paramedics arrived, not realizing what they were walking into, they had to take care of the wounded there, so they sent us out to the ambulances to bring in more of the supplies, more of the oxygen, more IVs, and just to, you know, help them out as much as we could.
John Cabrera, thanks very much indeed. Joining us now live from our Atlanta affiliate, WSB, is the mayor of Atlanta, Bill Campbell. Are you beginning to get your arms around this yet? I mean, this story just gets stranger and stranger and more bizarre and more horrible the more you learn about it.
Unfortunately, however bizarre it is, Ted, the unvarnished truth for us is there are 9 people that are dead in our city, and we must now comfort their families, and of course there's still people that are injured at the hospitals. So this tragedy has many proportions for us, and I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it in my entire life.
And when you talk about the 9 people who are dead in Atlanta, you're not counting the wife and the 2 children who appear to have been killed a few days ago.
That's exactly right. And once the dimensions of the tragedy unfolded as we were trying to search for Mr. Barton, it became clear that it was not simply a case of someone who has had a financial loss and then reacted aggressively as a result of it, but rather a deranged killer who was simply seeking to exact revenge on people he did not know. It's very hard to explain, quite honestly.
To those of us, Mr. Mayor, and the rest of the country who may not know Atlanta quite as well, how far away was he from the Alltech office building when he was he pulled over by the police, or did they just happen to spot him?
Once we identified Mr. Barton, and of course that was fairly easy because many of the people who were shot knew Mr. Barton and identified him instantly. We had a picture from his driver's license. The authorities, who worked tremendously well in cooperation with both the local and federal and state authorities, were able to get an identification of his driver's license, the vehicle, and the tag number. He was pulled over by suburban authorities and then shot himself as he was being pulled over.
How far away from the point of the shooting was he? How far out of town had he made?
Perhaps 10 to 15 miles from the site of the killing.
But I mean, they identified the vehicle. They knew whom they were pulling over when they pulled him over?
I think it's fair to say, Ted, that once the dimensions of the tragedy unfolded, virtually every law enforcement personnel in the state began an active search for Mr. Barton. We knew the dimensions of the tragedy, 9 people Then as we understood that he had killed his wife and 2 children, there was a very active and aggressive search on every level, and it was only a matter of time before he was spotted and pulled over, and of course he then killed himself, and we're now left to deal with this tragedy, and we're trying to do so with prayer, as you can imagine.
Absolutely, and you know the prayers of the nation are with you and with the people of Atlanta and all the families and the folks who are in the hospital, and we'll be talking to one of the surgeons at the hospital later. Mr. Mayor, I know it's been a long and dreadful day for you. Thank you so much for coming in and taking the time.
Thank you very much.
When we come back, who was Mark Barton, and could this possibly have been prevented?
Okay, the Hollywood Bowl. Okay, I go left on La Brea, right? No, left, right? Exit at Cahuenga, south on the 5, west on the 10, and when you see a massive sign, get off.
Before you go here, go here. Whether locating an address or planning your route, at go.com, you find your own way.
People breed dogs. Some people breed pretty dogs. Other people breed tough dogs. But every once in a while, one of those tough dogs hooks up with one of the pretty dogs. Introducing the new, redesigned 2000 Mitsubishi Montero Sport. Tougher, prettier.
Darling, yes, the house is 100,000 more than we talked about. The location just dreamy. I'll write up the contract so we're ready. Home sweet home, sugar.
Before you go here, go here. Whether you're researching neighborhoods or agents, at go.com, you move on your own terms.
Courage, something shared by countless Americans. Those who risked their lives. Those who battled serious illness. When I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I was primarily concerned with ridding myself of the cancer. But secondly, I was concerned about possible post-operative side effects like erectile dysfunction, ED, often called impotence. You know, it's a little embarrassing to talk about ED, but it's so important to millions of men and their partners that I decided to talk about it publicly. And after all, it can be associated with many conditions, including prostate surgery, high blood pressure, diabetes, or even smoking. And the point I want to make is there are many treatments available for ED, so my advice is get a medical checkup. It's the best way to get educated about ED and what can be done to treat it. It may take a little courage, but I've always found that everything worthwhile does.
Coming up.
I wish there had been pornography taught when I was in school, because Jerry Stiller would have had a happier first 20 years of our marriage.
Politically incorrect.
Ever feel like walking into a showroom and telling the salesperson how much you want to pay? When your Toyota dealer starts crunching numbers, you can.
And crunching the numbers has allowed us to extend the 4.8 financing offer on any new Tacoma pickup. We've also extended the $1,000 customer cash back. Or you can still lease a Tacoma for just $159 a month. It's your choice.
When your Toyota dealer crunches the numbers, I decide how much to pay. Don't miss a summer crunch going on now at your Toyota dealer.
Mark Barton's story became more and more complicated the further back one goes. Chris Bury has been sorting out the details of this extraordinary story. Chris?
The witnesses knew who Mr. Barton was, identified him as the person that had shot them or had done the shooting. So we have a positive ID on Mr. Barton as the shooter.
Early this evening, Mayor Campbell, like everyone else, was trying to answer the questions, who was Mark Barton? And why would he kill, and kill so many?
He was a chemist who then began day trading stocks, apparently had substantial swings up and down. That's all we have at this point. Thus far, we have no idea what caused Mr. Barton to begin shooting.
44 years old, 6'4". Barton had recently been day trading at offices of the Alltech Investment Group, one of the places where he left his victims dead and wounded today. There are conflicting reports about how often Barton played the markets from here.
I believe he was one of our remote clients, trading from his home, dealing with our Atlanta office, and I'm told he hasn't traded in many months.
Barton, his second wife, and 2 young children from his first marriage had recently moved into these apartments where the bodies of his son, daughter, and wife were found. Tonight, neighbors said there had been marital problems and a recent separation. One woman said she noticed something strange about Barton earlier this week.
Now, I noticed Tuesday night when he came to pick up my grandson, he did look a little peculiar. Had a certain look in his eyes that he didn't usually have.
The Bartons had moved from a street called Sinclair Place in Morrow, Georgia. Tonight, neighbors up and down the street described Barton in telephone interviews as articulate, smart, and not particularly friendly.
The typical American family man. I have commented on many times we were going to church on Sunday morning. I would see he and his family coming out, getting ready to go to church in their van, and they wasn't, you know, very friendly people. They wasn't outgoing, but they were just a typical family.
He was like intelligent and smart and kind of brainy, you know. He was a quiet type of guy. He had a nice family, 2 little kids and a wife.
He was not a social person. I mean, he just didn't get out and just didn't talk. He would speak if, you know, just throw his hand up or something when he was in the van driving by, or if he was out in the yard, he'd just throw his hand up or something like that.
He was never the friendly type. You know, he never spoke to any of the neighbors, come out to the street and had any of the, the street talks we'd have and stuff like that.
I feel saddened by it. I feel sad that we missed the opportunity to prevent this thing from happening. You see, we never know when we prevent something like this from happening. We only know when we didn't. And we didn't this time. And it's a great tragedy.
In 1993, Barton was center stage in another tragedy, the brutal murders of his previous wife and mother-in-law. They were found bludgeoned to death in this campground in Alabama, where they had gone to spend the Labor Day weekend. Police say the trailer had no signs of forced entry, and they considered Barton the primary suspect, but did not have enough evidence to charge him. We spoke by phone tonight with Cherokee County Sheriff Roy Wynn about the murders of Deborah Barton and her mother.
They were killed near Cedar Bluff at Riverside Campground by some type of blunt instrument or a cutting type instrument of some sort. He was a prime suspect from the very start. The case was still open. We hadn't been able to receive anything on it in some time. We felt sure that he was our man.
What was your reaction when you heard about the shootings near Atlanta?
Well, basically I said, man, I wish we could have nailed him first.
Other local officials said they had good reason to suspect Barton in the 1993 murders, a strong motive for one thing.
Just very shortly before this happened, several circumstances surrounded it. He was going with another lady, the lady that he killed this time. He married her shortly after the funeral of his first wife. He had taken a $600,000 insurance policy out on the wife that was killed.
There was never any forensic evidence, never any eyewitness evidence, never any incriminating statements from him. There was nothing to go with that. And being a suspect is a great deal different from being a charged defendant.
Tonight, one investigator told Nightline he felt, quote, sick, very sick, knowing that Barton had escaped prosecution for the murders of his wife and mother-in-law in 1993. In fact, for more than 5 years now, Barton's father-in-law has been on a crusade, pressuring authorities all the way up to the governor's office to prosecute the man he calls a psychopath. Tonight, he told Nightline, he has now lost everything: his wife, his daughter, and today, his 2 grandchildren. Ted?
Chris, thanks very much. As we heard just a moment ago, Mark Barton took out a substantial insurance policy just before his ex-wife was murdered, but the insurance company didn't want to pay. That story and the story from Mr. Barton's lawyer when we come back.
See the USA in your Chevrolet. The world is big and wide and the sun is shining.
This is how the world looks from the inside of the new Chevy Impala. And this is how the new Impala looks to the world. Designed, engineered, and built to be the most carefree car on the road.
Let's go for a drive.
style. It hit me the minute I walked in. It oozed from the upholstery. It dripped from the chandeliers. Yeah, the air was thinner up there on the avenue.
Avenue.
This dame was platinum all the way.
Sheer glamour in a seductively priced new collection.
Make yourself at home, she said. So I did.
Avenue from Ethan Allen. There's a sale on now.
Captured the hearts of millions with the Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity. 1997, IHOP makes headlines again with the Rudy Tooty 2. 1999, a nation swoons over the announcement of the Rudy Tooty Roundup. Their credo, a Rudy Tooty for everyone. 3 breakfasts to choose from. Fruit-topped pancakes, bacon, sausage, and eggs. Starting at just $3.99, only at IHOP. It all begs the question, what's next for IHOP?
This weekend at Just for Feet, the world's largest athletic shoe store.
It's a 30% off store-wide sale on kids' shoes.
This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Save 30% on all kids' shoes.
Nothing's held back.
Everything's on sale.
Every single kid's shoe.
30% off.
Every name brand.
30% off.
Every style.
30% off.
Every color, every size, every sport.
Something for every kid.
Just in time for back to school.
30% off all kids' shoes.
This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Just for Feet.
Where 13th pair is free.
Attorney Michael Hauptman represented Mark Barton in the Alabama murders of his ex-wife and mother-in-law. He joins us from our Atlanta affiliate WSB. He was never charged with the murders, so what were you representing him for? In what capacity?
There was a civil action over the insurance policy.
The company didn't want to pay?
That is correct. Primarily because of the short period of time in which the policy was in existence, and combined with the Alabama authorities' belief that he was involved in the homicide. The civil attorneys brought me into the case to deal with the criminal aspects of the case.
Now, he eventually received, what, the whole $600,000?
Very close to that. He received a substantial portion of that, and a large portion of the funds went into a trust account for the children.
Obviously, today you must have slightly different feelings. I mean, no attorney is required to believe in the innocence of his client, but whatever you felt 6 years ago, how do you feel today?
I am stunned that this had happened. I'm saddened that there was this tragedy. However, I still believe he was innocent of the crime in Alabama.
Really?
They had absolutely no proof back then that he had committed the offense. In fact, they had another suspect who's presently in custody in Indiana that had confessed to the killings.
But they never charged that person with that crime, did they?
And they did not.
I beg your pardon?
No, they did not.
I'm astonished at what you're saying here. Here's a man who today shot 9 people. A couple of days ago, shot his second wife or killed his second wife and 2 children. I don't know if he shot them. 4 days before his previous wife and mother-in-law are found, he takes out a $600,000 life insurance policy on his wife, and you don't think he had anything to do with it?
Absolutely not. I think he was devastated by the fact that she was killed back then. He He was horrified by it, and that...
Well, he said he was horrified by it.
Well, you know, I think I could tell by my dealings with him that it was something that had devastated him. The fact that the person who's in prison in Indiana was present at the scene. My client was 100 miles away with a pretty good alibi. There's a person in Indiana who's present at the scene of that murder, confessed to the murder, and had access to the type of weapon that was used in that murder, which was a very unusual type of hatchet.
Hold on 1 second. You're telling me that someone was apprehended in Indiana who confessed to this murder but has never been charged with the murder. That's passing strange, isn't it?
I'm not a prosecutor in Alabama. It's not my job to prosecute their cases.
But your client, as I understand it, refused to take a lie detector test at the time. It doesn't have to, I understand that, but that doesn't sound too good either, does it?
Well, he does. Number one, he doesn't have to. Number two, polygraph tests really don't work.
I understand, but if you're trying to show your innocence and you've got nothing to be concerned about and you're as horrified as you say he was, it would have been a simple thing to do. Did you advise him not to take it?
I always advise clients not to take polygraphs.
And you did in this case?
They're basically witchcraft. I mean, you know, it's a good interrogation tool. You can get people to answer questions, but they can't tell if you're telling the truth or not.
But six years ago, you were convinced this man was not a murderer, and today, I guess you say you're as shocked as everybody else.
Absolutely.
All right.
It is something I didn't think he had in him.
Mr. Hoffman, I thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
An update on the condition of today's shooting victims when we come back.
Avalon. Because peace and quiet aren't going to come looking for you.
August is around the corner, so get to Sears Goodbye July tire sale for hot deals on top brand name tires. Like the BF Goodrich Plus tire as low as $22.99, including a 50,000-mile limited treadwear warranty. And Sears low price guarantee means you'll get the tire you want at the right price. Hurry to the Goodbye July tire sale, where you'll find thousands of tires in stock. Sears, your smart stop for tires and batteries.
When dentures dream, they see the perfect denture cleanser. One with the stain-fighting power of Efferdent and the freshening power of Listerine. Well, little friend, dream no more. It's really here. It's called Efferdent Plus, and it's the only denture cleanser that could make your dream come true. Efferdent Clean and Listerine Fresh. That's Efferdent Plus.
Tomorrow, NASA's bold undertaking, crashing a spacecraft into the moon. What will the impact uncover? Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
There is in Salisbury, Maryland, the hungry are being fed. In Wind Falls, Indiana, a man who learned to read at 47 is making sure others learn earlier. Every day, someone in America is doing something to light up another life. But there is so much more to do. The light to do it is within us all. We only need to share it.
The future of our people is threatened by diabetes, but we can fight it by controlling our blood sugar.
I choose healthy foods.
I exercise every day and keep my blood sugar close to normal.
I always take my medication.
Control your diabetes because our young ones look up to you. We must take charge for future generations. Control your diabetes for life. Call 1-800-438-5383.
Thus far, we've spoken only of the people who were shot and killed today. 7 of today's shooting victims were sent to Grady Memorial Hospital, Atlanta's premier trauma center. Dr. Leon Haley is the director of the emergency room. Dr. Haley, I seem to have lost your picture. Can you still hear me all right, though? Well, there's Dr. Haley. Dr. Haley, what can you tell me about the condition of the people who were injured?
Well, there were 7 individuals that were transported to our institution originally. One of those individuals was suffered a gunshot wound to the back, and she was actually discharged home in relatively good condition. The remaining 6 are still here, 3 of whom are in the ICU in critical condition, another 2 that are on the floor in good and serious condition, and another individual who is in an intermediate care unit right now in guarded condition.
Tell me what critical condition means in this instance.
In this instance, these are individuals whose injuries were enough that required operative intervention at that time. It's going to require close monitoring in the ICU via both the nurses as well as the physicians. We're going to have to watch them closely over the next 12 to 24 hours, and hopefully once they can clear that mark, we'll have to continue to watch them and make sure they do well.
Actually, I was over, as you may know, at CNN earlier this evening when you were talking to Larry King, and at that time you were still concerned that these people might survive. Are you at least over that concern now?
I think there's at least 1 or 2 individuals that we're going to still have to monitor very closely to see how they do over the next 12 to 24 hours. I think there still is an issue of how well they're going to do, and survival still is an issue. The other individuals, I think, have cleared the first couple hurdles, and we should be able to observe them and monitor them appropriately, and they should do okay, but we'll have to see.
I realize we're not talking about your hospital, but my understanding is, and I just want to be sure that you have the same information, altogether, I believe, 12 people were injured, and I guess the other 5 were taken to another hospital or other hospitals?
That's correct. We had 7 transported to this institution. Another 5 were split between 3 other institutions in the city.
Do you by any chance know what the condition of those folks is?
At this time, I do not, sir.
All right. Well, Dr. Haley, I guess at the moment things are, if you'd sum it all up, about as good as can be expected for the patients you have in your hospital.
That's correct. Fortunately, we have had 1 individual who's done well enough to be able to be discharged home this evening. We have 2 other individuals who are on a regular floor, which are encouraging signs, and all of the individuals that initially went to the operating room are out of the operating room and in the intensive care unit. So we do have some encouraging signs, but there are some things we're going to have to monitor more appropriately.
Well, we wish you good luck, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
It's good of you to do.
Thank you.
We'll recap today's events in and around Atlanta in just a moment.
Traveling through Arizona, we blew a front tire. It shot off the road, and I looked down at the ground. It is crawling with rattlesnakes.
It was unbelievable.
I pushed the OnStar button. Within seconds, the OnStar advisor pinpointed our location and sent a tow truck.
Call the paramedics.
Yeah, and kept talking, because we
hate snakes.
Yeah.
OnStar.
During the OnStar Summer of Savings, get the OnStar phone-based system and installation at no extra charge when you prepay for a year of service. Call 1-800-OnStar-7.
To recap now what we know at the end of this tragic day, 9 people were shot and killed, 12 others wounded this afternoon at 2 brokerage offices in Atlanta. The gunman was identified as Mark Barton, an investor reportedly upset about recent trading losses. One source of information tells us that he lost as much as $70,000 only yesterday. After a citywide manhunt, Barton was stopped by police and committed suicide in his van. Shortly after today's shootings, Barton's wife and 2 children were found dead at their home outside Atlanta. Stay with ABC News overnight and Good Morning America for the very latest on the Atlanta shootings. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
Nightline is always on with abcnews.com. Now part of the Go Network. If you'd like a transcript or video cassette of this or any other edition of Nightline, please dial 1-800-CALL-ABC.
Nightline has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. abcnews.com, now a part of the Go Network.
ABC. Watch Bob Mueller weeknights on News 2 at 6 and 10.
Ladies and gentlemen, the star of Politically Incorrect, Bill Maher. Bill's guest tonight, Ann Mira, Lisa Ann Walter, Randy West, and Rick Roberts.
Fantastic. What a crowd. What a night. Thank you. Thank you so much for being in a good mood, because it is a tough day, I tell you. There was a horrible shooting down in Atlanta. I'm sure you heard about that, but just shows you perspective. You know what people are really dying from in greater numbers? The heat. How many are from places where the heat is insufferable? Okay. I think they said about 70 people have died already from this, especially tough on the elderly. Health officials are telling the elderly, please stay indoors, and if you have to go outside, please, for God's sakes, stop wearing the black dress socks with your shorts. I screwed that up badly, didn't I? All right, well, okay, that's all right. Now, heat of a different kind. President Clinton today was hit with a $90,000 judgment, which he's got to pony up for his lying in the Paula Jones case. What are you applauding that for?